Let me tell you something.
Yes.
This is the day to FAFO. I know So this is the day to FAFO. There are some people, it's a growing audience, but there's some people who it's Friday, afternoon. They're like, man, what do I need to get me through those last couple of hours? I need to FAFO. If you're this person, today is your day.
Sweet.
Because tech is wilding out today.
Absolutely, yes. So yes, as we get ready to future around and find out, or the other FAFO or whatever. Last night, we do this on Friday mornings. We record Friday mornings, and sometimes I don't know what we're going to talk about. And then last night, as I'm just trying to cook dinner, all hell breaks loose. 3 major stories broke last night.
Yep. Jack
Dorsey lays off half of Block, chops Block in half. We'll talk about. He says it's because of AI. I'm not so sure. Maybe it's partly because of that, but I think mostly it's not. Warner Brothers is going to be acquired by Paramount, not by Netflix. Netflix walks away. Mm-hmm. And then Anthropic, I think this is actually the biggest story, the one that we'll talk about for the most number of years going forward. Maybe the Paramount thing. We'll see about that. But is that Anthropic basically very politely but gave the Pentagon the middle finger and said, no, we're not going to let you create a bunch of autonomous murder bots or do mass surveillance. Those were our 2 things that you can't do with our technology.
The bar is so high.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And
can I name this? I'm going to name this. We have this whole pre-production meeting where I'm like, well, what about this weird, obscure thing about tech? And then we get off the call. Literally, this is what, an hour after our production meeting. Yep. And then it's just nope, this is what you gentlemen will be talking about today.
Yeah, we talked about Anthropic. We knew we'd talk about that, and I was frankly nervous to talk about it because the story was going to change because they had a 5 p.m. Friday deadline to respond to Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon. And I said, we're going to record right before 5 o'clock. So something's going to change today with that story, I'm sure, because the Pentagon's going to be pissed. And they're not. They cannot let this stand. Or at least that's not their MO. Their MO is to respond, asymmetrically with 10 times more nastiness than necessary. So that's what I expect is going to happen next. But. Yeah, so we knew we'd talk about Anthropic. The Square news definitely broke right after or the Block news broke right after we chatted, and that relates very much to something that we did talk about and we will talk about today, which is the fan fiction AI Doomer report from Citrini Research, where they wrote this story and they put, this is not a prediction, this is a scenario, and they wrote this story of it's 2028 and no one with a white collar has a job anymore, and they can't afford their mortgages anymore because they don't have jobs, and we have this sort of everything is more efficient, but no one has a job, especially in white collar, and that tanked the market. It's almost only been 3 days since that came out, and there's a million things that have happened since. But I think that Block story it just fits that narrative even more.
Hold on. Yes. Okay. All right. First, I'm going to pump the brakes again because you're excited. You're wearing the Nordic sweater. So much is happening. What do you want to talk about first?
Let's get into Anthropic first. I think that is the story that we're going to be talking about in a couple years. All right, so Anthropic. So basically, the Pentagon, apparently the Pentagon used Claude, possibly through Palantir, but in some way or another, they have been using Claude, and they used it in the raid where they seized Nicolás Maduro from Venezuela. If you remember that was also a story that happened, I don't know, only a month ago.
Who can remember? There's so much that happens in such a short period of time. Yeah. So, yes. Yeah. Anyway.
Can I tell you a ridiculous story about that? So, Maduro gets captured, and he's wearing Nike Tech. Did you see the outfit that he was wearing when they released a photo of him blindfolded and handcuffed in a helicopter, and he's wearing Nike Tech, right? This was that's right. Yes, he looked, leisurely.
Abduction wear, if you will.
Yes, abduction ready. Yes. So that was a big fashion story that I didn't even know about. We had just bought my 13-year-old for Christmas, basically exactly what Maduro was wearing in that helicopter. Yes, he goes back to school after the holidays, and kids make fun of him in a nice, I don't know, I wasn't there, but in a way, whatever. And they gave him a nickname of Lil Tator, Lil Dictator, because he was wearing the same Nike Tech that, so
This is something that Larry David couldn't have written. You know what I mean? Because it's so layered. First of all, it's that the dictator is wearing a comfortable Nike Tech jumpsuit, which people are envious of. You know, the jumpsuit you want to wear when you're blindfolded in a helicopter and don't know where you will end up.
Sure. I mean, you know, you don't want something that's like scratchy and uncomfortable, so you might as well have loungewear on.
No, I mean, short of wearing velvet, he couldn't have been more comfortable. All right, level 2, the intellect of of your son's classmates and middle school. We don't have to say the exact name.
Eighth
middle
grade.
School, where they're like, I know what's happening in global politics. I'm aware of the fashion implications, and I can make that connection to what you were wearing. Yeah. You know, the level of intellect and cruelty there is amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's much respect. It's like, and he was, you know, he wasn't hurt by it. It was only like 2 weeks later that I learned of this nickname that I actually asked him about it. He was wearing Nike Tech this morning, so that's partly why I'm thinking of it. And I said, "Are they still calling you?" They said, "No, they moved on." So, you know.
And so the third piece, Lil Tator, catchy and short for dictator. I mean, these kids should be writing for Trump as far as like giving him some relevant material. All right, I'm gonna back up. All right. So
in addition to Nike sponsoring that hijacking, Claude was also used in the hostage taking, not hijacking, in the hostage taking of Nicolás Maduro, the kidnapping, whatever we want to call that. But Claude was used in some way, like it made it easier for them to go in and get Maduro. And so the Pentagon is like, we want to use AI however we want to use AI, and we're going to use it to, you know, seize dictators around the world. We want to be able to use it to have autonomous, like no human in the loop, you know, murder bots, for lack of a better way to describe this. Right. And also we want to be able to use it for like mass surveillance. And Anthropic's like, well, you know, we have a contract with the Pentagon. You guys can do whatever you want, but not these two things, not mass surveillance and not the murder bots without a human in the loop. You can do murder bots, but you have to have a human like authorize the final kill. And that
pause on that. I'm sorry. I'm just going to pause on that.
Yes.
You can do murder bots, but you have to have a human in the loop to do the final kill.
Yes.
I just want to norm that. I just want to norm that for a second. That's our that's our floor. Let's have a human in the loop to make the final kill. Okay, please continue.
Yep. I mean, honestly, this human in the loop thing that like makes the final decision is going to manifest in lots and lots of industries.
Agreed.
You know, not just in the execution industry, but in legal, in medical. Like you want a human to be responsible for this machine that did something.
Execution industry.
So the Pentagon, I mean, I think people probably know this by now, but like the Pentagon gave Dario Amodei and Anthropic a deadline of Friday, 5:00 to let them do the way they put it was all legal, basically do anything that is legal with their software. And of course, what the hell is legal these days? Basically anything that they say is legal. So
that wording. So let's pause there. That wording is so interesting because laws right now feel like opinions. They feel like moods, you know, like, well, let's just legally tariff other countries 15-20% because there's this abstract law that allows us to do this for some reason. That part is like the wording around that is so subversive. All things legal.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I'm just punctuating your story. I'm punctuating this piece here. That's all.
Yeah. So last night, Amodei writes because he was thinking of this podcast, so he wanted to like get the news out Thursday night so we could talk about it on a Friday morning.
He's like, I'm going to FAFO this up right now.
That we're not going to accede. That was the nice. That's the word of the day today. Is we're not going to accede to the Pentagon's demands. Accede. Yeah.
Word of the day.
He wrote it. It was in his letter. This is not me, right? Where we will not accede. And I think it's both. I believe two things. One, I think it is true to who Dario and Anthropic are, and I think this is a huge PR win for them to be able to like say very publicly, no, we will not accede to these demands for these two things, the murder bots and the mass surveillance. And I think a lot of what they were thinking about when they had to make this decision was one, the morals, morals, period. And also like their own employees who might leave if they caved. And what's interesting, there's now a letter.
Yes, I was going to mention this.
OpenAI.
The open letter. Yeah.
So there's now an open letter. OpenAI and Google employees have written a letter saying to their bosses at OpenAI and Google, like, don't accede to what the Pentagon wants. Now the Pentagon's going to put pressure on you to do the things that Anthropic wouldn't do. The Pentagon also, of course, is working with XAI because Elon's going to do it. Whatever. What does he care? But so I haven't seen any XAI employees sign on this open letter. Maybe they think it privately. I have no idea. But OpenAI and Google employees have written this letter, and we'll see how that goes. But it's interesting. They're putting their names, signing the letter with their names in public in full view because they don't want to work at Murderbot AI.
Okay, so all right, this is a good place to
go
pause.
from there.
So you made a comment about this being a huge public win for Anthropic. Let's talk about that. In your opinion, why is this a huge public win? I know we've talked around it a little bit, but let's go a little deeper.
I think the war for talent is very, very real. So two things. One, the war for talent. If you just look at it in like the narrowest terms there, like they are, despite what Jack Dorsey is doing at Block, like they are.
No, we're going to get there. Don't confuse.
They're actively trying to hire the best and brightest in AI,
right.
And the best and brightest can go to a lot of places. And it's frankly, the numbers that they get paid, the amount they get paid is just stupid. So it's not
it's
necessarily
like podcast money. It's
That's
podcast
right.
money that they're.
Yes, it's not. It's not.
I'm just trying to get
so
you to
what's
laugh.
like? All right, look, you want to go back to the Knicks? It's like Jalen Brunson, right? How much money did he turn down to stay with the Knicks, right? Because thank God bless that guy, right? And so it's I think the AI researchers they can go to a lot of places, and they'd probably rather be at a place that's not like creating murder bots. So one, on the employees, I think it's a PR win. Makes the current employees happy. Will help them recruit new employees. Two. We talked about this when we talked about Claude's Constitution. Claude's having just a huge moment. Like this whole month that we've talked about, this is not meant to be like the Claude
That's
podcast,
the bigger piece for me.
But they have had a big month.
Keep going. Keep going.
With their Super Bowl ad, and they're not taking ads. I mean, they are really trying to occupy this moral high ground of we are the AI without ads. We are the AI that has this constitution that's written by a philosopher in-house that's good for humanity. I mean, remember, they were founded, they left, Dario and others left OpenAI because they didn't think OpenAI was taking safety seriously enough. So this is them saying very, very, very publicly, like, we take safety so seriously that even though the Pentagon says they're going to declare us a supply chain risk or, never do business with us ever again, like, we're still going to stick to our... I was going to say stick to our guns here, but that's the wrong.
No. Say it.
Stick to our guns.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. We're gonna stick to our algorithm.
We're gonna stick to our human triggered guns.
Right. Once again, where's the floor?
Yeah. So that's why I think it's a big win for them. What do you think?
So I agree with all of that, and I think that there's a bigger play here because a year ago, would companies have openly gone up against Trump's administration? I don't think so. Everyone was running scared. There's a trend here around, hey, morally, we feel this is right. And more importantly, what you're asking for is ridiculous. And we're going to say this out loud. There is a piece here where it's sort of like, is the administration losing steam? And this will come up when we talk about the whole Netflix Paramount thing. This will come up there. But I think it's smart. I think that they're looking at the trends of what's happening with society. And
I think that's part of it. I agree. I agree that the time was right for someone to say publicly,
Yes, that part. So the public win is, but also there's a piece where this is their brand. If they don't do this after they can't
it's so core. It's so core to their brand. I know
they can't not do this. They are literally. And the analogy I was thinking of. It's sort of like when. Not that this is supposed to be a political podcast, but when someone's running for office and they want to use a song, like I forget what song this happened with Trump.
Oh yeah,
they want to use a song where it's like this is our song.
It's whenever Trump wants to play Bruce Springsteen. He's like
exactly, and the artist is just like, I don't stand for that. They are the people that the artists stand for, and I think it is brilliant because I think short run. Well, I mean. mid-run, they will lose a considerable amount of money from government contracts, but the public trust around something that the public doesn't trust,
yep,
you can't put a price on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, it is so core to their brand. I do think, I do think that there is, between the overreach in Minnesota, I mean, overreach is like the nicest word possible. Wow. The murders in Minnesota.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you. Of Americans. Of American citizens. For no reason whatsoever.
So I think, hopefully, this is me being optimistic, hopefully we're at some sort of a, like, turning point here. We've like reached the nadir. And we never have with Trump, but like maybe we have. But I also, there's so much going on that maybe the Pentagon does something very public, but very and moves on. Because frankly, the thing is that actually, like, Anthropic has incredible technology and they do want to use it. So now the Pentagon's put themselves in a position of like, well, we don't really have a replacement. We'll see about the open letter and the Google and the I don't, by the way, OpenAI is what's going to happen. They'll do XAI. I don't trust Sam. I think Sam's going to, OpenAI this thing. Like, he's so close to.
I 1,000% agree with you. And the elephant in the room, it's sort of like you have these three other systems. You have X, you have Google, you have OpenAI. Do you need the fourth one just because you're greedy, or do you need the fourth one because it's the best? This is so much free advertising for Anthropic, where people are just like, well, why does the government need this one? Oh, and they're trying to spin it as it's the woke one. It's that good.
It's that good. Yeah.
It's that good, because if they were the fourth one and they don't agree with the government, their product wasn't that great, they wouldn't care. I'll be honest, Proton, because now we're sponsored by Proton Mail. Proton Mail has an LLM. I don't see them on the list. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously they're not going to use any. They're not going to use like
or there's Mistral, which is French. They can't use
which
that,
is French, so they're not going to use that. I mean,
we need freedom fries. We need freedom AI. We can't.
Accede AI? Is it?
Do we have to explain freedom fries?
Oh no! Yeah, I mean we do. This is where we reach the old man portion.
It was way back. It was back when like these things were cute, and now it's just like every single friggin' week there's something stupid. So some congressman, some GOP congressman. This is like the Newt Gingrich era, I think. So around the Gulf War, a little after the Gulf War. We're like, and we're not going to serve French fries in the U.S. Capitol cafeteria anymore. We're going to serve freedom fries. We can't possibly. Anyway, so, Mistral. So we went all that way for Mistral.
Okay,
I don't think they're using Mistral AI.
Let's move on. What's our next topic?
So you already mentioned this relates. I'm curious how you think this relates to the Paramount, now soon to be acquisition of Warner Brothers, CNN, all the movie studios. How does this relate to the Anthropic story? You had a through line there, I think.
Well, the through line for me was that Netflix, they were looking at the writing on the wall, the fact that Trump went after one of their board members, and is basically, because there's not enough stuff going on in the world, so that Trump has to weigh in on this acquisition. You know what I mean? It's like the desk is clear. He's walking around the water cooler. And he's just like, well, what else can I get into? I'm a little bored today. And so he's weighing in on whether or not Paramount or Netflix can acquire Warner Brothers, and why, and whether or not the purchase is fair, and whether or not it's going to be legal if Netflix
whether he'll allow it to go through, because all M&As go through Trump right now.
Because that's part of the presidential responsibilities. And so
it's right up there with hanging a huge banner in front of the DOJ with your face on it. These are the,
well, I mean, you know what? I didn't see it, and my first thought was, well, I hope his hands were in the
basically
photo.
like a giant, like Mao Zedong, like cult of personality poster, like hanging in front of the Department of Justice right now, like a 50-foot tall poster of Trump's face.
Oh God! Why didn't he hang it up in front of the Department of War? Why didn't he hang it on the Pentagon? Anyway, so the through line for me is that Netflix looked at this and they're like, well, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. And the fact that Paramount...
I think they did win. I think they found a way to win. Go on.
No. You didn't hear about this?
No, I think in walking away they have won.
Oh, in walking away. I was just like, I know that this happened.
Yeah.
They did win financially. They 1,000% win. They 1,000% won. But the idea that Paramount is controlling all of this media and they're able to do this through Trump, it's like we have this showdown happening. Here's the media, and here are the things that we're going to put out there. We are literally going to edit 60 Minutes and determine what's on 60 Minutes. I don't know about you, but me as a kid, my parents made me watch 60 Minutes.
Oh, sure.
They're like, this is the actual news. You need to be informed about the world. And now that's being edited in a specific way. Certain stories are shown in the U.S. or not shown in the U.S. and shown in Canada to align with a certain political agenda. So you have corporations who are controlling media in this way. But you literally have the AI companies that are, or the AI company at this point, that's saying, no, we're not going to be controlled. This is an interesting showdown. And I think the third element there is a 60% disapproval rating for our current administration. That is something to watch. That is this through line. Amade is betting that the people are leaning one way. And these media companies are just like, well, no, we think that we can control public opinion in another way. And it'll be really interesting to see where the social media companies lie with this and which side they choose and where they lean. Because they've always been able to put that a little bit of a thumb on the scale to shift public opinion, especially around elections, which is coming up in November. So I'm just saying there's a lot of things at play. To quote The Wire, there's a play on the inside, there's a play on the outside. Okay? We got it all on lock. All right. Your thoughts.
The Warner Brothers news hit me on a bit of a personal. I have a lot of friends who are at CNN. When I worked at the New York Times, and in fact, the CEO of CNN was the CEO of the New York Times when I was there. I was there 2012 to 16. He was CEO 2012. Literally, we started the same week by total happenstance. Mark Thompson for a little bit longer after I was.
Were you in the same onboarding meeting? Like, did you guys get your badges next to each other?
It was a wild time. And that's a topic for another show, but there are a lot of and even before he came out of retirement and became their CEO, there are a lot of New York Times people at CNN, friends of mine. Yeah. So there's a fork in the road where I'm working at CNN right now. So I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. God, Larry Ellison David Ellison is about to be my boss.
I think you got it right the first time, but go on.
I think I did. Yeah. Oh, did I? Did
Freudian?
I? Yeah. Warner Brothers acquisitions always go very fantastically well, famously well. AOL and all the rest of it. So I'm putting myself on a ground level, and this relates also I don't think I was nearly as close to being an employee of Square or Block, but I really admired Square and Block, and so I'm thinking of those employees today. 50% of them who are got marching papers yesterday.
Hold off. I know you're.
I'm not going there yet. I'm just saying. I'm thinking from that level of the employee level of chaos and people are trying to do good work at CNN, but also it's it's saddled and it's it's not. I don't know. I know friends, literal friends of mine are doing their best, but I don't know. That's a hard business to turn around and with broadcast rights and all the rest of it. I don't know. It's just depressing. That everything is going through. That we have state-run media. More and more. I think what's good, if I look at a positive side of this, and this is a bit self-serving as an independent podcaster, newsletter writer, but I think this just speaks we just need to support more independent people.
I agree.
Because
I agree.
The corporate stuff is not healthy, not getting healthier. In large part, with a few exceptions, like the New York Times. So
that is a really good. All right, see, you always say something while we're speaking, which inspires me for our little game that we play at the end. And you gave me a really good topic right there. Okay.
All right. Stay tuned for past, present, and future. Future, past, present. Future, present, past. Yeah. I think we're playing with it a bit. You want to talk about Block?
Let's talk about the Block. Let's talk about the Block. Why don't you set it up? I like when you set it up because you're so detailed.
All right.
And I can make the jokes.
It's a pretty simple story. So there's two things. I want to relate Block to the Citrini research piece of fiction that I teased before.
Perfect.
Okay. So let me actually start there. So earlier this week, there's this firm. I don't even know a ton about them, and they wrote a piece of fiction. They declared that it was fiction that's set in the year that. Literally, the date line of the piece was crossed out of February 2026. It's in strike through, and it's February 2028, and it's we're looking back on what happened. And basically the scenario that they write is that because of how good Claude is, back to Claude Cowork and Claude Code, and other tools, there are going to be mass layoffs, and the layoffs are going to hit because companies are going to be wildly more efficient. There are a bunch of assumptions in this piece some of which I think are completely ridiculous, that like people are just going to like vibe code their own DoorDash, which I don't think is going to happen. They're going to vibe code their own like enterprise software, but like,
yeah,
in the piece. So we'll get to that. I think that was probably its biggest like, I don't know about that eyebrow raise. But they're going to be mass layoffs, and I think yesterday's layoffs like spoke to that. At least that narrative. Whether it's the actual reason Dorsey's doing this or not, I don't know. We'll get to that in a second. But they're going to be mass layoffs. They're going to hit white collar people the hardest. They actually specifically mention the product manager who's earning $180,000 a year, who now has been replaced by like a $200 a month subscription to Claude Code. I have some feelings about that as a product manager. Also, I don't think that it's true, but maybe that's what I want to believe. And that this then cascades into not a subprime mortgage crisis, but a prime mortgage crisis, where high-paid white-collar people can't afford their jumbo mortgages anymore because it had assumed that they were going to make $200,000 plus a year, for the next decade plus, and now they don't. And so what formerly were like the most solid mortgages theoretically are now underwater. And on, and it snowballs, and there's like a huge problem. The last thing I'll mention in the piece that I thought was interesting, this is they did talk about, in this world of like mass unemployment, that maybe there needs to be some like new tax structures, that we tax the output of LLMs. I think that was actually an interesting point in there, which is not getting nearly as much attention as the doom and gloom. The piece has been taken down by a lot of people as absurd. And by the way, like, we wouldn't even be talking about this piece if people on Wall Street hadn't reacted to it and sold a shitload of tech stocks, right? This is, I think, the second or third time we're having a conversation right here where we're talking about some mediocre piece of research, or in this case fiction, that has led to like a panic on Wall Street, a minor panic on Wall Street. People are jumpy. I literally had an entire episode with Azim Azar. The headline episode was "People are jumpy right now," and we talked about how we need to see ROI because there's been so much spent on AI, and so people are jumpy. They sold a bunch of tech stocks. They literally sold the stocks that were mentioned in this, again, fictional narrative. DoorDash tanked this week. I think, was it SAP was mentioned? SAP,
well, a lot of SaaS companies have been.
But in the narrative, they specifically mention a bunch of companies. I know DoorDash is one of them. That like someone's going to vibe code their own DoorDash, and like then suddenly like the delivery workers just go work for the vibe coded one, which I think is ridiculous. But DoorDash stock went way down this week because they were mentioned in this, again, completely fictional narrative. Go on.
Oh, there is so much here. Okay, first of all, we are firing 4,000 people overnight. That wag the dog much? This is wild. And how much of this reminds you, or it reminds me of this, of sort of the COVID layoffs or the post-COVID layoffs, where it's sort of like, all right, everyone needs to be back in office. If you're not back in office, we're going to let you go. And people were using that as an excuse to lay off employees, to write their balance sheets. At a specific, it was probably around this time of year. Was it like a year ago that this was the case?
The return to office stuff. I mean, it's been sort of rolling for a while, but I think this is a reaction to COVID when there was dramatic overhiring, and Jack Dorsey specifically is known to overhire. He overhired at Twitter, and so this is a lot of companies are doing a lot of layoffs. And there's this term that I like. I saw it in the Times called AI washing, and I think that's a lot of what's. I'm not saying it's 100% of what's happening here. I think there is truth to this narrative that like. I sometimes do things that like, I would have paid someone for that, and I just did it for my monthly subscription.
We all
to
do
an
that.
AI.
Yes.
So I do. I feel it. I'm not 100% made up, but 50% of the company. Ethan Mollick, who is like a really respected AI,
brilliant.
He's
brilliant.
At Wharton, and he wrote that basically take this with a giant grain of salt. Take this rationale from Jack Dorsey with a giant grain of salt. Like you don't lay off 50% of the company because AI is, and he's very bullish on AI. He's like, AI is not that efficient and effective. Like, 50% of the company effective? No.
Right. So, okay, there's a lot here. The future, the future is never exactly what we think it's going to be. We thought 15 years ago we'd have flying cars. And right now we have like mediocre autonomous cars, and we're really pushing for this idea of flying cars, but we're never really going to achieve it. It's based upon a cartoon. Do I think a couple things? Do I think that people will be able to vibe code their own DoorDash? Yes and no, or no and yes. To your point, we have so many things as small business owners. We're both small business owners that we outsource to AI, where 10 years ago we would have to pay someone to do it or it wouldn't get done. We have so many of those things. So I do think that there's a level here of fear that's combined with, and this is the educator in me, people sort of just reading headlines and then going off of that. Hey, there's this article about how all these companies are going to go down. I shouldn't own a position in that company. We should sell that.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, really tied more to critical thinking and reasoning and the lack thereof, which I think can be tied to pathway to education and those things not necessarily being emphasized as much as they should be.
I want to read you something from Benedict Evans. I don't know if you read him. He's a well-known tech analyst. And he also said take with a grain of salt the block layoffs. But this was about the he didn't actually name what it was about, but it's basically about the Citrini research piece and basically all the things that make people like sell their stocks because they get jumpy. So he wrote, one of my memories of the .com crash, right, the 2001 crash, and the telecoms crash was every month or so people said something that was really obviously stupid, both at the time and now looking back, and the stocks would go down 10 to 15%. But also, the stocks were way too expensive. So really what was happening was that these stories catalyzed much more well-founded nervousness about valuation. So it's like people are just, in his view, people are just looking for reason to we all look for confirmation bias, right? So I think this fiction, the MIT study that said 80% of AI initiatives fail, which was not well researched, which directionally might have been right, by the way, but was not a great study. Like it gives people a reason to do something. Maybe they were thinking of doing it anyway. And frankly, I mean, I think Jack had been planning these layoffs for a while. I'm almost 100%
and now he has a narrative. Now he has a narrative.
But he also had earnings this week. I think it's really tied to like they released their earnings report yesterday, so it was going to happen yesterday no matter what.
Right.
But I think it probably helps him that this Citrini research fiction piece was the dominant narrative of the week up until like all hell broke loose yesterday when 3 stories broke simultaneously. What do you think of the fictional narrative? What struck you about it?
I think that anything that resonates, a joke resonates with you because there's an element of truth within it. A good piece of fiction, a good television show does the same thing. This written piece feels possible enough, scary enough, and relevant enough to be true. Do I think that these things will occur by 2028? I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm also, there are things that are happening that I'm not aware of, so I wouldn't quote me on it. But are we seeing the effects of AI within industry, within technology, within business? Absolutely. And the fact that someone can fire 4,000 people in a day and say, oh, this is the reason why, and everyone believes it, that speaks volumes. I think it is timely that it's written. I think it's sounding a bit of an alarm. I don't think anything will change as a result of it.
Why don't we take a pause here for a second? We'll come right back. We'll do past, present, future.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready? It's our favorite game.
I'm ready. All right, let's go.
Past, present, future. I ask you a question and you respond. All right. First one up. State-controlled AI. Past, present, future.
Definitely not past because it didn't really exist in the past. It's not present. I mean, it's a future I hope we avoid. It's probably in our future, whether it's in the U.S. or not. So whether it's in more authoritarian places, which frankly, yeah. So I guess I'll have to say future.
Yeah, I think it's a little present right now. All right, let's move on. This one will strike a chord with you. I'm trying to strike a chord with you on all of these. Independent media, past, present, or future. I
mean, it's almost de facto future at this point because there's not really an alternative.
You really think that there isn't an alternative? You don't think, and I'm going to pose this to you.
There's the Dear Leader alternative that we're building this week with Paramount. Media basically is bifurcated to where they're like superstar winners and they're like really like small independent creators, and pretty much everything in the middle is like really fraught. Right, so either you're the New York Times or you're the New Yorker, the Wall Street Journal. B2B is a much safer place than like B2C stuff. But if you're the Denver Post, I was about to say, but I don't think they even exist anymore. Is that or the Rocky Mountain News? One of them doesn't exist. Maybe they both don't exist. So I really hope there's a future for independent media. I mean, that's what I'm doing right here, and I think people are more comfortable paying for this kind of stuff than they were like 10, 15 years ago. But also there's a limit. Like, I mean, I pay for a lot of media. I have a lot of subscriptions, and I've hit subscription fatigue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the answer is it's future, but I don't know how capped that future is. Like there may just be an upper limit.
So my question for you, as someone who joins you in this independent media piece, in certain ways, we are dependent on larger structures to get our media out, and whether that is Spotify or whether that's Riverside or whoever, and everyone. It's going to sound kind of bleak, but everyone has a colonial master. And so part of the reason why independent media can exist is because these companies exist that help to amplify your media. But those companies are subject to the rules and the emotions of larger structures, government. I'm sure I'm going to say this. I'm feeling punchy today. The ass clown who's in charge of the FCC. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this is an immigrant mentality, but I'm like, if that dude can mess with a Jimmy Kimmel and a Stephen Colbert,
100%.
And why couldn't he mess with independent media? Why couldn't they turn their gaze on people who speak out against injustices like Minnesota? Or just utter craziness, like what?
One of the
go ahead, yeah.
I was going to say one of the biggest issues for independent creators. Like, I used to be at the New York Times on the product team there. I wasn't a journalist there. New York Times has incredible lawyers who, by the way, write like sometimes they like release things publicly, and the way that they write is amazing. But they will defend you. Like if you accidentally, or if someone thinks you said something libelous. Probably you didn't, but they will defend you. And so This is a really big issue for independent creators is, do they have lawyers? Substack, Beehive have some programs where there's like some pooled lawyers or access that some people have. I don't have this right now. There's a type of lawsuit called a SLAPP lawsuit, SLAPP. I forget what it stands for. Basically, it's like a frivolous lawsuit that someone files not because they think that they're right, that you actually said something slanderous to them, but because they have more money than you, and attorneys are expensive, and so there are some states that have anti-SLAPP laws that prevent this type of lawsuit. But that's
New York
a major
and California. Do you know if New York and California have those laws? I'm asking for some friends.
I don't know the specifics of it, and I also I don't remember how the laws work. It might be that like if a judge rules that it's a SLAPP lawsuit, then that person with more money that sued you just owes you lots of money. I don't know that it actually stops the lawsuit. I think
from occurring.
You don't want to get sued. Like even if it's a stupid frivolous lawsuit, like that's a huge risk. That's not even the criminal risk. Look, Don Lemon got thrown in court. He got thrown in jail.
Thrown in jail,
right? Like so. Yes, it's
as
not
someone acting
not good.
With
not
it.
Good.
He got thrown in jail as someone participating in an independent media, or under the guise, or under the title of an independent media person. In that role, he was thrown in jail. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the future. We're gonna have to FAFO, and we're gonna have to future around and find out about that. See how I did that?
Yeah, I see that. I see that.
All right.
You want to end on something less dystopian?
Well, no.
Can we get there? Is it possible right now?
I don't know if
I would love to.
I don't know if we can. Okay, all right. You know what? I had something, but I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to end on this. Knicks championship, past, present, or future.
I mean, let me ask you a question. What are you willing to give up? You know, I mean, this feels like
that's interesting.
Possibly like a damn Yankees situation. Do we have to give up our souls here?
That's interesting. Not Jalen Brunson. I'll tell you that. Not number 11. I'm not willing to give him up.
No, I meant morally. What are you willing like? Like your soul.
I'm thinking like trades.
No, forget that. No, this is not. Thank you. This is not WFAN. No, I don't need like Jimmy from Queens. Thank you, but no. No, I'm asking morally, what will you give up? Like, are you okay with the Murderbots if like the Knicks win a championship? That's what I'm asking.
No. I'd gladly wallow in third or fourth place in the East to avoid Murderbots. So no, I'm not willing to give up anything morally for it. I want it to be the Miracle on 34th Street. That's what I want.
Okay,
I
love that too.
Yeah. So I ended on a good note. I had something else there that was dark, but we're moving on. We're moving on, and we're moving forward.
Right up. I know where I want to end. Last thing, South by Southwest.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. That's going to be fun. Let's go find some.
That.
Yeah. Come find us if you've listened this far into this episode, and you're going to be in Texas. Come party with us. My camera got so excited it freaked out for a second there. Because it's the wrong. Now it's that camera.
Now it's this camera.
I'm just going to pretend like this was on purpose. I'm just going to turn. All right, ready? Well, Kwaku, thank you. Next week,
that was subtle.
Next week on Future Round and Find Out, we'll be at South by Southwest. No, one more week. So yes, for reals, drop us a line. Go to futureround.com. You can contact me there. We would love to see you in Texas. And we would love to get your feedback on these episodes, on all episodes, what you want to hear more of.
Looking forward to it.